Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so Attack on Titan chapter 117 is out. Although there's not really a lot to unpack about this chapter, it was mostly just action with a little bit of setup for next month's chapter. Now, I do say, even though it was mostly just action, there were a few interesting story beats in the chapter that are worth talking about, and we actually got some kind of cool, interesting insight on characters that we haven't had before that I actually kind of want to talk about in the chapter review. So let's just jump right into what happened in the chapter. Okay, so the chapter opens up and jumps straight into the action. We got Eren and the Jaw Titan going at it until Eren quickly throws him away. We have Peak, who actually ends up jumping off the tower after transforming into her Titan form with Gabby in order to escape and to get away from Eren in that moment. So they're free now. And then we have the entire Marlesian military parachuting down on Paradise Island, with especially Reiner parachuting down right in front of Eren, like a few blocks away in the middle of the street. And this is what makes this part of the chapter kind of interesting, because of the fact that Yelena picks up on this. In fact, I'm pretty sure Eren does as well. He knows that it basically is a trap that Reiner trying to provoke him into fighting him so that they can have the 2v1. And when Yelena tries to rush him back back inside the building so that he can go underground using the Warhammer Titan abilities and escape, instead of doing that, Eren decides to jump off the building and actually go on to the fight with Reiner and the Jaw Titan. And when you're looking at the scene, it's like, alright, this doesn't strategically make any sense. Yes, Eren has beaten Reiner before, so he knows that he can defeat him one-on-one. And even with the Jaw Titan added on, now that Eren has the Warhammer Titan abilities, he does technically still have the advantage in this fight. But why take the risk after all the hard work and effort that they put to get this far into their plan and how close they are to finally succeeding in their goal? Why take the risk of fighting this fight that you're not 100% certain you can win? And you know what? I think this moment right here is when we're actually finally seeing Eren's true colors. Because there's one very good reason why Eren would not run away from this fight. It's because Mikasa, Armin, Jean, Connie, and all the other military soldiers who are being locked up in the cells are underneath that building right now. They are locked up in the cells underneath that building. And if he runs away, he is leaving them behind to basically be killed off by Reiner, the Jaw Titan, and all the Marlesian soldiers that are there to invade the city. So if he runs away, he is no longer there to protect them. So instead, he decides to fight a kind of not certain to win battle in order to protect his friends. And you know what? If I'm right about this being the reason why Eren actually decides to stay behind and fight against Reiner and the Jaw Titan, then that just kind of proves my point that I've been saying for at least the past two chapters. That I don't fully think that Eren is 100% on the plan. I don't think he actually is the main villain that he's basically been built up to be in this arc. And that he actually is planning on betraying Zeke in the end and not going forward with the euthanization plan. And speaking of Zeke, that's pretty much what the Marlesian military's plan is. They're trying to defeat Eren as quickly as possible before him and Zeke can get together. Because they come to the conclusion that basically now that Zeke... Because Gabby kind of drops the hint that Zeke actually might be a royal blood. So now that they know that, and they know that Zeke and Eren, if they come into contact with each other, will be able to activate the Founding Titan abilities. Their main goal is basically to destroy and defeat Eren and take back the Founding Titan before Zeke can get onto the battlefield. So basically, that's their goal. That's their timeline. Defeat him before Zeke arrives. And you know what? Speaking of the Marlesian military, we actually kind of get some new insight to McGrath, because we've already seen in the back during the Marley invasion arc that basically McGrath wasn't the same type of Marlesian that everyone else has been. That basically he doesn't seemingly hate Eladians. In fact, when Gabby and Peek meet up with him, the first thing he does is hug Gabby because he's happy that she's safe. He's happy that she's back with her friends and family. So he's excited to see her again. He kind of berates her for basically going against orders and going behind enemy lines without his permission. But basically, he's more than anything happy to see that she is alive and safe. They ask about Falco. She tells them what's going on with that. And then basically, we get some insight into what his actual plan is. Now that he's basically the one in charge of the Marlesian military fully, his plan is basically to get the Founding Titan and end the 100 years of hatred. Now, he doesn't exactly say how he plans on doing that. But you can basically imply by his words in this part of the chapter that basically he wants to end the hatred. He wants to basically end the discrimination against the Eladians, and that he actually believes that the Marlesian Eladians actually can live in peace, which is kind of good. It actually shows that he, even though he is technically kind of a villain in this moment, he's not that bad of a guy. In fact, if we could actually get him and Armin to sit down and talk for a little bit, the two of them actually might be able to come to a conclusion and work together. Because if that is his goal, to basically end hatred and discrimination against the Lydians from our legions and the rest of the world, and basically bring about a world of peace, ultimately, him and everyone from Paradise Island, their goals do align. So we actually could see possibly in the future, especially now that we've been building up Eren and Zeke to be the main villains, where Marley and Paradise Island actually work together to achieve this goal. Now, the rest of the chapter is pretty much just action. We see Eren going up against the Jawtine and Reiner at this point, and it's pretty much one-sided. Eren's pretty easily defeating them, especially since he has the Warhammer Titan abilities. He actually, at one point, he impales the both of them in spikes and kind of traps them in their movements. And just as Eren's about to put the finishing blow on both of them, that's when the Car Titan peak and McGrath actually show up with their new Gatling gun weapon, anti-Titan weapon, and actually shoot Eren's brains out. They shoot out his Titan brains, kind of trapping him or stopping him in his movements for a little bit, and then basically giving the Jawtine and Reiner enough time to get free from the spikes in order to try to attack him. But I guess it took them too long to get free from the spikes, because by the time they actually do go to attack him, Eren's able to gain enough control over his Titan again that he's actually able to counterattack again with the Warhammer Titan abilities. Then McGrath shoots him again, basically blowing out more of his brains. And it's kind of just going back and forth between Eren using his Warhammer Titan abilities and McGrath shooting him. And what we end up finding out is that this is actually part of the plan as well. McGrath actually plans on having Eren waste all his energy, because using the Warhammer Titan abilities basically drains a lot of Titan energy. So basically he's trying to wear Eren out until he can't do it anymore, and then eventually the Warhammer Titan and Reiner, or the Jawtine and Reiner, can actually defeat him. And just as it seems like Eren's actually about to lose, and that's when Zeke shows up doing his classic move of throwing rocks, and it's like, hey, your big bro's here to help you. And this is actually such a well done moment, because we've seen throughout the entire series Eren push into corners. We've seen him in situations where it seems like he's going to lose no matter how hard he fights. There's no way he can win. And then someone actually comes in and helps him out, whether it be Mikasa, Armin, Levi. Someone would actually come in and help him out in the fight. And in this moment, we got that. We got that moment where we actually see Zeke, the guy who Eren's been trying to reunite with throughout this entire arc, finally show up. The two of them finally get to see each other again. And it's actually in this beautiful moment where Zeke is actually helping Eren save his little brother. Now, and it's in this beautiful moment where we see Zeke, the big brother, come in to rescue his younger brother from a dire situation. And like I said, the moment is so beautiful. We've seen this moment so many times. And you know what? I got to give credit to this chapter, because in this moment, it actually tricks you into forgetting that Eren and Zeke are technically the bad guys right now, because in that moment, you're cheering for them, because holy shit, we're finally going to see the Yeager brothers work together. You know, we get to see Eren save from this dire situation. And then you remember, wait, I should not be rooting for them to win, because they are technically the bad guys. But technically, we're in a situation where it's two bad guys facing off against each other, so you shouldn't want either side to win. But, well, what can you do? You can't help but root for Eren and Zeke in this moment. But that's pretty much all that happens in the chapter. There's not really much else to talk about. Like I said, some interesting insight on McGrath, some interesting insight on Eren, why he actually decided to stay behind and fight against Reiner and Jawtine in a seemingly unwinnable battle, instead of just running away to safety. But yes, if for the chapter, that's it for the review. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below with your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.